look, I think the governor's being politically motivated here. The polling showed that New Yorkers were significantly against this, 65% in New York City alone. In my district, it's more around 80%. I think so. It was a combination of that because it is an election year. And I do believe that our lawsuits had merit. We were in federal court. We had a hearing a couple of weeks ago, and she probably maybe is thought that the judge would halt the program, so she wanted to get ahead of it before she was even more embarrassed by it. But make no mistake about it, this is politically motivating, and the issue is that November 5th, if the Democrats win the election, it'll come right back November 6th. I think she's trying to protect members of the state legislature and the House who are up for re-election this year. And people should take notice of that and act accordingly in November. If they are against congestion pricing, they can't keep voting for the same Democrats that put it in place. They got to vote them out. And I think that this election this year has now become a referendum on congestion pricing here in the city of New York.
Yeah, but what the governor was saying was that it was going to hurt New Yorkers in their pocketbooks in places where she didn't expect. But is there anything that could change your mind and could get you to support congestion pricing? What if more exemptions were added, especially for drivers, like coming from Staten Island and New Jersey?
And it really was the way that they implemented it. No consideration of Staten Island, no consideration that we already pay a toll to connect to the rest of the city. And they wouldn't provide any type of credit. They just basically said, we don't care what Staten Island thinks, not even an offer to improve our transit system so we can actually get out of cars and go into the subways. But the real issue here is that the governor wants people to ride mass transit. Number one, she has to make it safe. They have to repeal this bail law that has created so much crime across the city where people feel unsafe. I represent a lot of first responders, nurses, restaurant workers, people who have to take the subway at odd times. That's number one. Number two, we don't have a subway in New York City, Staten Island rather, that connects to the rest of the city. So we lack those options. And there's no talk about that this money would actually improve that situation. So I think it's, you're not going to win over the people of Staten Island for sure. And it was the way this was jammed down our throats. Remember, the legislature passed it, and then they gave their entire authority up to the MTA, which is a mismanaged bureaucracy. Everybody knows it's a bloated black hole. Okay. And they were going to set the pricing structure. They were going to decide who was exempt. And they gave away their authority to this bureaucracy to make the decisions that the state should have.
So I'm listening to you carefully here, and the politically motivated thing was brought up yesterday as well. And the argument could be made that there are plenty of Democrats right now who are saying they are against what the governor did, that they wanted it to move forward, right? So when you look at it at face value, there was also this talk of conversations that happened the day before with the governor in the halls of Congress, and she was in D.C. the day before this announcement was made. Were you part of any of those conversations? Were you tipped off the day before that this was something that was being considered and talked about by members of Congress?
Look, I found out in the news like most other people. I will say that, look, I've made my voice very clear in the media, in the lawsuit, on your show. People know that I've been a leader in this fight to stop this congestion cash grab. It is nothing more than a war on cars and the MTA's next get-rich-quick scheme. So, look, again, I'm happy that she made this announcement. It is a victory for me and my constituents, but we need to remain vigilant and know that if they win November 5th, they're going to do this again on November 6th.
So what happens to your lawsuit?
That's the reality. If they win the election on November 5th, they'll restore this on November 6th. I also think, interestingly enough, President Donald Trump, after a conversation I had with him right before Memorial Day weekend, put out a Truth Social post saying that if he's elected, he will reverse Biden's rubber stamping of the program. As you know, federal highways, the USDOT, had to approve the program.
Yeah.
And so President Trump had sat on it the years that he was there. He didn't allow it to move forward. This president allowed it to go forward. And then that is why we're suing, because it went forward in violation of federal NEPA law.
Right, we're out of time, Congresswoman. So real quick, because we're out of time, I just want to get it in. Yep. What happens to the lawsuit?
What happens with the lawsuit should remain. And the UFT, Staten Island Borough President Vito Fossella and I, and the other elected officials on Staten Island are party in that lawsuit. New Jersey has another lawsuit. They should remain in court because this is not the final straw, right? We want to see this thing dead. So we have to win in court because I do believe the governor will try to bring it back after the election.
All right, well.